Hey guys, I'm going to be installing the Crimson NPAS into the VFC FAL OSW. It's exactly the same process for the regular FAL, but this one is just the OSW short variant. Split receivers and remove the buffer spring and bolt carrier group out the rear. There are two screws that go through the side of the bolt carrier group, which hold that little plastic piece at the front in. They're a flat head and they can be glued in, so just be careful of that. At the rear of the bolt, we've got a countersunk Phillips head. This is quite easy to thread. I would recommend that you check that it's biting properly before you're removing it. You may need to bash it out. Mine actually came out on my magnetic screwdriver, and then the nozzle and the plastic piece, if it's still in there, comes out the front. I'm going to back the NPAS screw out if it's got one in already. This makes it much easier to punch the pins out without risking damaging the existing screw. And then from here, it's getting the nozzle in the vise and then punching the 2mm pins out the side. Start with the rear. And nozzle spring comes out. And then the front as well. I really am whacking this. They can be stuck in there pretty firm. Just really go for it. Your NPAS and rocker valve spring will come out the rear. And then to reinstall, it's the same again, making sure that the open side of the NPAS is going towards the bottom side of the nozzle where that big open window is. Make sure the NPAS is facing out the port way before you punch that front nozzle in. I'm using the front of the NPAS to check that it's moving freely, and I'm also going to halfway adjust it so that when I have a benchmark point for when I come to chrono it. I'm really flattening out the nozzle pins here to make sure that it rub against the sides of the bolt carrier group. When installing the rear pin, make sure you put the nozzle spring loop exactly over the hole that the pin is going to be punched through. In the footage here, that went straight in, but you may need to line it up with a pin on the opposite side and then punch that pin through. Again, making sure that those pins are completely flush. Make sure you lube both the earrings at the rear of the nozzle. And then I'm also going to lube the O-ring on the little plug piece on the rear. The nozzle only goes in the bolt carrier group one way. You might do it like I've just done there, where you try to put it in the bottom and it actually gets stuck. You need to put it towards the top of the nozzle and it slides in freely. This part is where the real fun with this setup begins, because that rear plug that's going to poke through that hole there, this almost never wants to line up first time. And I've cut a massive portion of footage of me just trying to line it up. It was a good 5-10 minutes. Have some patience with it. It needs to go completely flush in, and you'll see it rise up into that plug space. I've got a big chunk of footage there of me trying to seat that plug, but eventually it has gone in. And you'll know it's flush because at the front of the nozzle, you've got this curved wing, and it'll sit completely flush against the bolt when seated correctly. From here, it's just the same as before, where you're reinstalling that plastic piece along the top, and then you're going to reinstall those two flathead screws into the side. And just checking that nozzle's installed properly. Make sure to pull it out and see that it's retracting correctly. Always important to re-grease your bolt carrier group when you're reinstalling it. This one hasn't been greased in a while, so it's quite dry, so I'm just making sure to do that. From here, it's as easy as reinstalling the recoil system on the OSW. This sits along the top on that post with the big buffer. In the long FAL, it just sits in with the buffer at the back. Slide the charging handle forward and then reinsert the bolt crowd group from the rear. The buffer can be a bit of a faff to line up those little wings on the side. It helps to add a little arrow I found on that little buffer to make sure you're putting it in the right direction. And we'll just slide in. And then if you push on the upper whilst you're moving the takedown lever, it will go back into position more easily. And we're done. Cheers.